like she's concerned about something after seeing this picture of Andre, and I'm like confused about what's wrong here because as Danny's seeing the picture and like, well, I'm sorry, Andre, you're actually too ugly to model with me, so we can't go on this trip to LA. What is up, everybody? Here to talk about today's Wednesday episode of Beyond the Gates, November 12th, 2025. And a fairly entertaining episode today. I mean, we did have to deal with Ashley and Derek and Naomi, so that's always kind of a downer. But let's begin with Ted and Kat. I think this was a much needed day for these two, with Ted coming to see his pissed off daughter after she's been upset with him because he's allowing Eva to call him father now. Ted said that he asked Eva to start calling her dad, but not for Kat to stop calling him dad, not for Kat to not want to be in his life anymore. I think one problem with the Ted character, we talk about it a lot really, is that he's kind of a not always their father. You know, especially it's worse with Martin than with Kat. Like Ted and Martin never interact. He has no idea what's going on in Ted's life. But there's been some of that in Kat's life as well. And now he is definitely overcompensating when it comes to making things up for Eva because he didn't know about Eva for all these years. Kat was still being her usual annoying self to me, though, saying stuff like, it's a stab in the heart to see you treating her as my equal. A lot of Kat's dialogue when it comes to Eva is how above Eva she always feels, how much better than Eva she always feels. It just has gotten very old, although I was over it pretty early with this show. Ted also called out Kat for having compassion for other people she's never met with charities, but she can't do the same for Eva. Ted also threw it in Kat's face a lot about how much she's taken for granted with the way she was raised, basically in a rich family in the Duprees with Ted as her father, and Eva did not get to do that. Kat kept trying to get Ted to see that Eva's not all that she seems with Ted, that she is playing him for a fool, saying that Eva slept with Tomas, that she barged in there to try and intimidate her, which Eva has definitely done over these past few weeks. And from my perspective, I think it's just very normal and realistic, unless Ted just wanted to be a terrible deadbeat father, to not want to build up this lost time relationship with Eva. Like, I had a comment yesterday from a Kat stan being like, this is really all Ted's fault, but Ted also should have just kicked Leslie and Eva to the curb. And while, yes, the writing for Ted has been terrible where Leslie is concerned, I think Ted wanting to kick Eva to the curb is completely unrealistic from the character that we kind of know as Ted. I mean, the writing for Ted can be inconsistent, but I think Ted is someone who would want to make this up for Eva because he does feel bad that he never knew that Eva even existed, and he would have liked to raise her from when she was younger. Kat in this situation, though, it's become very redundant to me overall. I know I dogged all over Kat yesterday, and I did enjoy the Kat stance in the comments crying about it. Something I didn't even mention from yesterday's episode, why Kat is also a bad character right now, a poorly written character, is she had some comment basically calling Eva that she dresses slutty yesterday, as if Kat's not always wearing these short skirts and whatnot. It was a very misogynist response from Kat as well, and just it's very pick me, but it's very odd to be that pick me over someone that's your half sister. But that is how Kat has come across for so long now with this Eva situation, and I think Kat stans should be upset with the writing for Kat. I think the writing for Kat and Eva got very. I've been calling this out for months. The writing for Kat and Eva just got really bad over these past few months, and I don't know if it's gonna get better. But I did enjoy the Ted and Kat scenes today because I think it was very necessary for both characters to have that conversation about their feelings for the whole Eva situation. So the scenes today were good. Eva, meanwhile, was with Leslie, and Leslie was enjoying hearing all about how Eva called Kat a bitch and threatened to fight and did basically intimidate Kat, which I still think is long overdue for the Eva character. She's been way too patient with Kat, in my opinion, when it comes to all of the shit that Kat hurls at Eva with all of her put downs and her cutting dialogue. So Leslie was glad that Eva put Kat in her place, but she also wants Eva to check Kat for calling Leslie crazy. We all know they've made a very big deal about how Leslie does not like to be called crazy. That still comes up here. Eva, on the other side, is not happy how Leslie keeps throwing herself at Ted like a groupie. Leslie's saying she's okay with trying to have a friendship with Ted, but that's not very believable, and I don't think Eva believes that either. Jan joined the two of them for lunch, and Leslie was trying to show Jan a good time. Leslie was throwing her money around, like usual, her infinite amount of money. She was throwing it around with lunch today with Jan. Jan is meanwhile feeling bad for Ashley, which I guess we'll get into, unfortunately. But Eva also wants Jan to stop encouraging Leslie to try and get Ted back. But Eva's also the one that encouraged Jan to become friends again with Leslie. So I think Eva's just going to have to accept Jan and Leslie's friendship, even if Jan is someone that kind of plays into Leslie's delusions. Ted ended up interrupting the three of them at the end of the episode and thanked Leslie for covering the payment of the patient a few episodes ago that didn't have the insurance to pay for an operation. Once again, Leslie throwing her infinite amount of money around, this time for a good cause. The show definitely is trying to layer Leslie as not just a crazy villain, which is fine for me. I do know that there is still part of that audience that wants Leslie to pay for her deeds, which I do think needs to happen at some point. But it doesn't look like it's happening anytime soon. Let's move on to Dani and Andre today, who had some very strange scenes at the end of the episode. At the beginning of the episode, though, Anita and Vernon gave Dani a lucky quarter, I guess, from when she was younger before she heads to LA on this photo shoot with Andre for Forrester Creations. And Andre, meanwhile, is packing for that trip and gets a good luck text from Pamela. Then we have this nice moment where Anita and Vernon are surprised at what Dani and Andre have become since married. And Vernon even goes so far as to being pleased to welcome Andre into the family. Everything was going hunky-dory, which was probably the sign that it was just too happy for a soap opera, I guess. They've definitely been making Andre and Dani out to be this happy couple with where they are in their marriage, even though they got drunkenly married and weren't even in a real relationship when they did get married. But it seems like by the end of the episode, those warm, fuzzy feelings were disappearing. I was very confused by the ending, though. We have Andre at the airport waiting for Dani to arrive, awkwardly taking this picture of himself while looking uncomfortable while taking that picture, sends the text to Dani that he's ready to go on this trip to LA. But then I'm confused because Dani is just staring off awkwardly, like she's concerned about something after seeing this picture of Andre. And I'm like confused about what's wrong here, because as Dani's seeing the picture and like, well, I'm sorry, Andre, you're actually too ugly to model with me, so we can't go on this trip to LA. Because then she goes to the airport and tells Andre the trip's off, and if he really thinks hard about it, he will understand why. I tried to think hard about it as to what the hell Dani was talking about, And I was confused. Maybe the picture of Andre was so awkward that she thinks he's uncomfortable about going on this trip and really doesn't want to model. That's the only thing I could think about while thinking hard about it. And if it's not that, then she really did see that picture of Andre and said, no, this isn't going to work. You're not model material. Strange ending today with Dani and Andre. I don't know what they were going for in those last couple of scenes, but they kind of went over my head. Maybe if anybody else understood, you could let me know in the comments about what you made of Andre's awkward picture and Dani's response to the picture. And then we move on to Naomi and Ashley, still mad at Derek about how Derek was not telling Ashley that he was getting filling back in his legs. And Ashley and Naomi are over there yapping about how they should burn Derek's chair. And then Ashley makes some comment about, oh no, he would rush in to put out the fire, when they know the man was just in a wheelchair and won't be rushing in to put out any fire. I thought Ashley and Naomi came across in these scenes very unlikable because they're over there making fun of Derek and his items when he is still recovering from this accident. Like, you can be mad that he didn't tell Ashley how much progress he was making, but he still was in that accident. He still had to work his way back to walk, and it's why Ashley will never be seen as the person to root for in this story. I think it just made both Ashley and Derek suck, and I don't know where they're going to move both characters, but it's probably not going to be in any direction that I care about. So, yeah, Ashley and Naomi were both annoying today when they were talking about Derek. And Naomi was also being harsh on Derek when he came in on his walker, because he did go to the hospital. He was early for physical therapy with Shanice, but stood up to Shanice. Well, stood up for Shanice. Shanice was very happy to see Derek standing, which I'm sure was the reaction he was hoping for from Ashley, because God forbid you care about a person so much that when you see him standing up after being in an awful accident, you're actually happy for that person before being so pissed because he didn't tell you the full truth like Ashley's dumbass. But yeah, Shanice helped Derek get a walker, and he was walking along kind of like the old man from Family Guy when he arrived at the apartment to talk to Naomi. Naomi, like I said, though, was harsh with Derek. Naomi's just upset with her relationship with Jacob right now, and I guess taking it out on Derek makes her feel better. I don't know. I mean, I kind of think Derek does deserve his own shit thrown at him, but it's bad enough he's had to date Ashley all these months. As hard years, I get. They've actually dated for years. It's hard enough he's had to date Ashley all of these years when she clearly has never given too much shit about him. So, whatever. Overall, though, fairly entertaining episode today, and at least we got some scenes needed. I do think the Ted and Kat scenes were needed. And I'm very confused by where we're going with this Andre and Dani thing and why Dani called off the trip. If the show really expected us to know what the hell Dani was talking about at the end and why she called off the trip, they were sadly mistaken. Maybe we'll start to find out what Andre's been hiding from and why he doesn't like to take pictures. I don't know. It was odd, though, to say the least.